So here's a fun story of connection. And everyone has these kind of stories from childhood. So this is a story from my childhood. I was raised very, very, very Catholic and Catholic schools and all with nuns, dressed in the full black habits. I was in it was third or fourth grade. So what happens when you're in Catholic school is you have different classes. You'll have religion class, and then you'll have math, and then you'll have English, and then you'll have like social studies, right? So I had religion class, and in religion class, catechism is what we call it when we're good Catholics. They taught us that anyone who's not a Catholic will go to hell. Just black and white, no gray areas there. Just be a Catholic and you'll go to heaven. I mean, you kind of got to be a good Catholic. You got to follow certain rules, but I mean, that kind of takes care of itself because if you're a bad Catholic, you get excommunicated anyway, and boom, you're out and you go to hell. I mean, right? This is what they teach kids. So they taught that to me, and I'm a kid. Sure, yeah, okay, yeah, yeah. And then right after that, we had social studies class. In social studies class, they give us a book, and we get to the place where we're studying about China. And I open the book, and here is a picture of little Chinese kids in China. And I look at the picture, I'll raise my hand and I ask the nun, I'm like, so all these little kids in China are going to go to hell because they're not Catholic? And she's like, oh, yes. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. That just can't be true. And she said, well, because they're little kids and because they've never heard about being a Catholic or not, they might get to go to purgatory instead of just straight to hell. Like, this is going to make me feel better, right? But I just looked at that and, I was young and I'm like, that doesn't make sense. I mean, it just literally didn't make sense. I mean, it still doesn't make sense, right? This is an obvious lie. Why am I being lied to? This obvious lie. So think back through your life. When have you had these moments? Even put it down in the comments because it would be good to share. These moments where you're just like, wait a minute. That doesn't make sense. And so that moment has stayed with me through my whole life because I encounter that same thing everywhere. I encounter it tons of times in New Agey teachings where I'm just like, that can't be true. That just doesn't make sense. Like one of the things I do kirtan and dances of universal peace and stuff like that. And so we do these chants from other cultures. And one of the stories that everyone always tells is that there's only two ways to pronounce Om Mani Padme Hum. It's got to be Om Mani Padme Hum or Om Mani Padme Hum. And if you do it wrong, you're not going to get the right vibration from it. And when I hear that, I'm just kind of like, so there's all these millions of different accents where people around the world can say things. They say their vowels different. They say their consonants different. And all the people who don't do it in these two absolutely static ways are basically going to go to hell, go to New Agey hell, because they're not getting the good enough vibration to I don't know, what do you get when you get the right vibration? See how this kind of stuff just doesn't make sense. It's like that doesn't make sense. And this is how dogma grows. People trying to explain things that just simply don't make sense rather than just go, that doesn't make sense. So kind of start applying that to things that you're told. When it makes sense, it just makes sense. When it doesn't make sense, it's always, oh, wait a minute, right? This is how we find truth.